Hello and welcome to the stream. Today I'll be playing through the demo of Existence: The Outer Reach, which will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. The demo is going to let you play through the tutorial mode and give you a chance to experience some of the game. My name is Jeremy, also known as Jappleseed, and I am the developer for Existence. You're going to be seeing the current version of the game, which is may change here in the next couple of weeks before it actually hits Steam. So may run into some minor issues. Hopefully we can get far enough in the stream and we don't hit anything major. So let's get started. I will jump into a new game. The game mode here is tutorial. This is a small galaxy with only 2 planets, and we will have a tutorial that walks us through setting up one of the planets and then invading another planet that's got enemy on it. So let's get started.
Welcome, Commander. I will be walking you through setting up your first colony on this planet. To establish a colony, you will first need to build a command center. Locate the command center in the build menu at the bottom left of the screen. Select it and build it by clicking on the ground near your colonists.
Alright, before I get started here, I want to show you a little bit about Existence, what it is. This is one of the planets. This is the starting planet for the tutorial. If I zoom out, I can zoom out into other planets here. This is the full galaxy right now. I only have 2 planets because of the game mode is set up. In the full game, this will be a full galaxy with, in certain game modes, over hundreds of planets out there. But for this one, just 2. This helps walk through the tutorial. Each planet has certain characteristics. This planet here provides, if you see over on the left side here, population 2, technology 1, manufacturing 3, agriculture 2, wildlife 3. Each one of those gives a little bit of a different characteristic of that planet. Population allows you to or is the number of recruits that you can recruit the colonists from that planet. So highly populated planets are easier to get established directly from the planet. Technology is the number of research buildings that you can build on that planet. Manufacturing is the efficiency of your factories or your fabricators that process raw resources into parts. Agriculture is how many farms can be built on that planet to support your colonist, and wildlife is the number of wildlife, in this case on this planet it's the Karchmar, that can be recruited off that planet. So a higher wildlife number there allows you to recruit more wildlife at a single time. You can also see the native race, the Gastarians. These are our colonists. These are your workers that are set up for the planet when you're establishing the planet. And of course we have our resources, iron and copper, which is on this planet, and both of them are very similar. This has a different native race, wildlife, and a few different numbers here. But this is where we're going to start. So we will jump in here. This is the space view. So there is building of the space station out here, and as you build shipyards and ships, you can expand from here. So starting off here, we need to build a command center to start your colony. So a command center is a way to establish yourself. It must be the first building you build on the planet in order to colonize it. This establishes your base, allows you to recruit colonists.
Colonists require a constant supply of food rations to survive. Keep an eye on your resource production at the top of the screen. A negative production number means that you are consuming more than you are producing. In order to produce food rations, you will need to build farms and assign colonists to them. Once you have a supply of food rations, you can recruit more colonists through the command center.
Alright, so she is walking us through the basics of setting up a base. Anytime you establish a planet, you will go through a similar kind of list to establish that planet. Towards the middle of the game, you may have different units and farms and resource extractors may not be what you use, but especially in the early game, a lot of these early planets, you'll be setting up them all about the same way. So I will start here. It says build a farm to provide food to colonists. So our colonists require food rations. So every turn, as you can see here, this goes around at every 20 seconds is a turn. Every 20 seconds these resources process. So for instance, this will go down by 6 every 20 seconds because I have 6 colonists here that are consuming those resources. Energy cells are used to for more advanced buildings. We'll use energy cells and can convert those into more advanced resources. They are also required by mechs and any robotic units require energy cells. And they consume them just like they do with colonists that consume 1 food ration per turn. The mechs will require 1 up to some of the larger mechs, especially the Titan mechs will require much more than that to support them. But at the beginning of the game, the smaller units will require just 1. Wood is a basic resource. We're gonna go ahead and start collecting it. Trees, not all planets have wood available. For these starting planets, they will have wood available. So chopping trees to gather wood, our colonists are able to do that. The Gasterian race has a unique ability here. They can chop. Their efficiency is 200%. So you will see, and I'll assign one here. Assigning 1 unit to that will be a net production of, update there, 2. So that 1 unit, by assigning him to collect resources, is going to give a +2 each turn. So assigning all 6 will give us a +12 of wood. Wood is good for these early buildings. A lot of the early buildings will require wood. Once you advance, what's more important are iron parts, titanium parts, and then platinum parts. Those are more used towards the more advanced buildings that you'll get to within the first, about hour of the game. Iron, we start out with some iron and some copper. I will show you here in a bit how that is gathered, and then iron parts, we'll walk through that. The tutorial will walk us through how to start generating these items. So to get started, I've assigned these colonists to gather wood, which was one of our objectives here that we've completed. And we've got some unlocks, and that looks like a bug that we need to fix. So build a farm. I'm going to look down here. Here's farms. Now, farms are limited per planet. This planet has the ability to build 4 farms, and that is because our agriculture is at 2. If it was at 1, we would be able to build 2 farms, and if it was at 3, we'd be able to build 6 farms. Each farm produces food rations, as you'll see here once I build it. Once we build the farm, we'll assign colonists to it in order to populate and work the farm. So the farm produces food rations and is used to support our colonists. Some planets won't have agriculture and you can't build farms at all. In those planets you have to use some different methods to either to trade in resources, food rations, to build a biosphere that produces food rations in space, or using mechs that don't require food rations and use energy cells instead. So now that we have our farm, we need to assign colonists. In most manufacturing buildings, require colonists to be added to them in order for them to function. At this point, this building is not producing food rations. Let me click on it. It needs workers in order to produce the food rations, and you'll see here when we assign a worker what that means. So let me assign one worker here first. and you'll see that building goes to +8. Some buildings require resources to produce. For instance, the fabricators will require iron to produce iron parts. That will be a negative production from that building and a plus production of the part that it's manufacturing. The farm, however, does not require anything to produce, at least this farm. There are more advanced farms in the game that do require other items to produce, but these small farms only produce, they don't require any consumption of resources. So each colonist assigned generates 8 food. So I'm going to select another colonist here and assign them, and that'll give us 16 food production. Now the food production, as we look up here, is generating 16, but since we have 6 recruits, 6 colonists here, we're only producing a net 10 of food rations. So every turn we'll be getting 10 additional food rations as 6 of our colonists are consuming them, and the building's putting out 16. Now one thing I like to do here early is I just go ahead and build 2 farms. That's just going to help us out a little later in order to recruit more colonists. So we have 278 food ration. The last thing that this wants us to do is recruit colonists to increase the population. So by recruiting colonists, we can add new colonists to our colony. That is done through the command center. You can see I have 8 colonists that I can recruit here. Again, each planet has attributes of population. This is where this is affected. If the population here, which is currently 2, if it was 1, we would only be able to recruit 4 colonists at a time. 2 allows us to recruit 8, and 3 requires us to recruit 12. So that just scales linearly based on the population of the planet. So I'm going to go ahead and click recruit here, which will trigger our next tutorial.
Now that you have your food production established, it is time to start collecting resources. Let's start by collecting iron and manufacturing into usable parts. Locate an iron deposit near your command center and build a miner to start extracting the iron. An iron fabricator is needed to process the iron into parts that can be used for constructing buildings and building mechs.
Okay, so now that we have our initial colony kind of set up here, we are all green up here. We are good. We could do nothing right now and we'd continue to collect resources. No bad things would happen. However, we do have enemies on this planet. These enemies, there's an enemy base over here, which we need to worry about with them sending units over to us to attack us. So even though we are producing everything, we need to keep building here in order to protect ourselves from the specific base that is established on this planet. So starting out here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to recruit all of these. I can do that. Each recruit costs 25, so as you stockpile food rations, it will allow you to recruit more colonists. You can see by recruiting those colonists, I currently have 14 characters, which I have a max support of 16 characters right now. If I had 17, I would start losing food rations, and once I hit 0, the colonists will start starving and eventually die from not having enough food. So we do want to keep this in the green, which is why I built a second farm here. I'm going to take 2 colonists and assign them into this farm now, and that's going to put our food production up to 18, so it's going to allow us to grow. And here we have an attack. The units will automatically attack here, and those were easy. We had 5 defense units here. But they're going to keep doing that. They will keep sending colonists over. Fortunately for the tutorial, there are no hard units in it, so they're just sending colonists over, which are pretty easy to take care of. As the game progresses, you'll run into harder enemies, which will have more advanced units, where your colonist won't be able to stand a chance, and you'll need to build a defense or have stronger units to defend your base. But for the tutorial, pretty easy if they do invade you. So what I like to do with the colonist, when I recruit them, I go ahead and just grab them all and just assign them to wood. It's a very easy thing to do. to just put them to work. One handy thing if you are kind of losing track of your units is this idle button down here. At any point, if there are idle units, you'll see this light up. You can select it, which will automatically select the units that are idle, and you can assign them directly from there. So keep an eye on that. If it does ever pop up, you have units that are standing around basically doing nothing. You may want to just assign them somewhere. So moving on with the tutorial, we want to start manufacturing construction parts. And these construction parts are iron parts is what we need initially. So what we need to do first is build a tier 1 miner, and this needs to be built on a iron deposit, which we have right here. We have an iron deposit and a copper deposit. Each planet will have different resources. This planet happens to have four deposits, another iron and another copper deposit on here. And this map here was built symmetrically. It's just a mirror of the other side. And this is a good kind of two-person map when you get invaded, having another base set up while you invade this base. So unless you colonize both sides, you can be kind of susceptible to attack of someone deploying to this planet, setting up their base, properly defending it, and then you have a little bit of a harder time taking them out. So this planet allows two bases to be set up. So we want to build a tier 1 miner. This is a tier 1 miner. There are 3 tiers of miners as we look at our technology. We are in the first one, and the tutorial will only go through the first tier. We won't make it to tier 2 or tier 3 in the tutorial. But tier 1 is iron and iron parts. Tier 1 also allows us to mine copper. As we advance in research, the tier 2 miners will open up, which will allow us to mine titanium, and then the tier 3 is platinum and will allow us to mine platinum. So I'm going to go ahead and build a tier 1 miner, and these need to be built directly on the deposit. If this was a platinum or a titanium deposit, it would not allow you to build it there because it's not set up to be built for those deposits. So we're going to go ahead and build that one here. And what this wants us to do here is locate the iron deposit, build the resource extractor. We also need to assign colonists. Again, colonists provide the ability for that building to produce whatever it's meant to produce. So we'll take 2 of these and we are going to assign them here. And this is going to give us plus 16 iron. And we will start producing iron here. So every 20 seconds, again when this goes around, we will get 16 iron, and this is going to allow us to build up iron. Next, what we need to do is iron in itself, in the raw form, is not beneficial. It doesn't allow us to actually use that iron to build anything else. The only thing the iron allows us to build is a iron fabricator. This cost us 25 iron, and this is what manufactures that iron into iron parts. As you can see, building costs 25 iron, items produce iron parts. So we're going to go ahead and build one of them, which is the next step in the tutorial. And we're going to go ahead and assign our units to it. And our manufacturing, our fabricators, and you'll see how much they produce here. It's based on the, it looks like we've got, I am going to recruit a bunch of people here just to protect us. And I'll assign them to wood. Actually, I need 2 here. So before I assign them, fabricators are I'll go ahead and assign.
Defeating enemy bases will require combat units. Combat-ready mechs are essential in expanding your colony. Mechs require energy cells in order to build. To build energy cells, you will need to process copper at an energy manufacturer. Build the necessary buildings to collect copper and produce energy cells.
So this is the fabricator. It's gonna consume 8 of our iron in order to produce 16 iron parts. So the way this is working is this is producing 16 iron. As you can see here, our production from buildings is 16. We also have consumption of this building. It's consuming 8 of the 16, which leaves a net 8. What that also gives us is plus 16 of iron parts. So it uses those 8 iron and produces 16 parts. Now our manufacturing on this planet is 3, so we are getting the highest benefit of that production on this planet. Other planets you'll see that plus 16 will be different based on the planet's efficiency of producing that. So if there was only 1 manufacturing on this planet, this would only be producing 8 at a single time, so it would be producing 1 to 1. But because we're on a planet where manufacturing is at a 3, it's giving us basically double and allowing us to produce more iron parts. Now iron parts are very important in this game, and you always want to try to have a balance, no excess of your raw materials being produced. So I've got currently 8 additional iron being produced every turn. Like I said earlier, that iron does not benefit me in any way other than building fabricators. So if I have enough to build another fabricator, I should go ahead and do that. So I will build the iron fabricator and assign my 2 colonists, which will give us a minus 16 to our plus 16 and zero that out so we're not producing any excess, and allow us to produce all 32 iron parts that this planet's or this deposit's allowing us to produce. So here we are, 0 iron and 32 iron parts. The next thing that we need to do is in the tutorial here is building mechs. So mechs use iron parts or require iron parts to build, but they also require energy production, energy cells. So what this is walking us through before we actually can build a mech is building an energy manufacturer from a copper deposit. It looks like this says build resource collector, but these are called miners, so I need to go back and fix that. Alright, so we're going to build another tier 1 miner on this deposit down here. I'm going to rotate this guy around and we'll start building here. Let's take a quick look because it's probably about time for another attack. And it looks like we are good here. There's no attacks. And I can assign 2 units here, and again this is going to give us 8 copper. Now some deposits on some planets may give you more. On this particular planet, this deposit is giving us plus 8 for the miner that's on it. Some other planets may be giving us plus 16 or plus 32, some other multiple, depending on that planet. Now once we're producing the copper, again raw resources are only beneficial in building a fabricator in order to convert those resources into usable parts. In this case it's an energy manufacturer, which is going to produce our energy cells by consuming the copper. So we're going to build one of them. While we're waiting here, we want to build a mech factory. Actually, let's go take care of them before they blow up our miner. And it looks like they disregard the building shooting through it, so that's another bug that may need to be fixed. Alright, I have my energy manufacturer. I'm going to assign 2 colonists to that in order to start producing. It is only consuming 4 of the 8 that we have, so I'm going to go ahead and build another one again so that I can consume all of the production of that miner. And the last thing we have to do here is build a mech factory. Mech factories allow us to build the mechs, which are the more advanced combat units that you'll be using primarily in the game when attacking enemy bases.
Ongoing energy cell production is required to keep your mechs operating. As you start building mechs, be sure to keep an eye on your production in order to keep it in the green. Once you have mechs built, you can use them to invade the enemy camp and destroy them to eliminate them from this planet.
Alright, so the next thing that we want to do here is destroy this base over here. By destroying that base will give us the control over this planet and allow us to expand from it. Right now this planet is controlled by the Strath Rebels, which is the enemy empire that's in here right now. So we've got our production of parts and our production of energy cells. We've been building up a pretty good stockpile here, so we should be able to build quite a few mechs. Yeah, we'll be able to build, looks like 4 mechs here. And I'm gonna have them, this is a rally point, so this will set the point where once they get built, they will come out to this point. And right now I just want them to kind of stage up here. That way I can send them over in one big group. When you are attacking bases, sometimes a good strategy is just to put this right in the middle of the camp. That way when you build those, they just send a line of mechs over to the enemy camp for the enemy to try to keep up with. Especially if you have really high production, or you have a lot of resources at this planet at your disposal, and you can keep producing your combat units. That way you can just send them directly over. So we're going to build about 8 here. That should give us enough here to take out this base. This base isn't very strong, so we shouldn't have a problem. 8 mechs may even be overkill for them. Another thing to note here, the tutorial won't walk you through it because there's no need to do it in the tutorial, but there is a research lab. So the way research works, and I'll go ahead and build one of these. Research is your typical research tree. Right now there's only a few items in here. This will be very much expanded once the game nears release. Demo will have a handful of here, but you may or may not be able to research all of these in the demo. But at tier 1, some of the research that you can research is another unit here, a tank. That's a pretty powerful unit. It can also be customized with the different primary weapon that's on it, with artillery, lasers, different weapons based on the unit that you're attacking, or what the enemy's attacking with. Some of the other items here, we have a wildlife training. Each planet has wildlife. This is a very interesting building because it allows you to recruit from that wildlife. In this planet we have Karchmar. This is a really quick unit that uses melee to attack the units and overwhelm them. I think you can recruit at some of the planets up to 15 of them, so you can have a large group of these and just flood your enemy bases with those units. The research. So research requires, each one of these has a cost. Each research research lab that you build gives you a point to use towards research, and each research takes a certain amount of time. So artillery, which is a building here that you can build that fires artillery on enemy bases, cost 1, and it requires 10 minutes to research. So when this research building is done, I will unlock 1 point here in order to build. Once that research is done, after those 10 minutes and the artillery unlocks, that point comes back so that I can use it again. So 1 research building will give me 1 point. If I build multiple research buildings, and on this planet my technology is 1, so I cannot. So if I go try to build that, my planet limit is 1, and it says I've reached the limit of 1 on this planet. I cannot build anymore. Other planets, if they have 2 research, and I believe this planet may have 1 technology. Other planets that have 2 technology or 3 technology, you can build additional research centers on there. So that research will give us 1 point in the tier 1 tech tree to allow us to research this technology. And we've got 1. I will go ahead and I can't do the razor. We'll do the tank. So I'll spend that, and then in 10 minutes that will become unlocked, and I will be able to build tanks out of my factory. So now that I have my 8 combat bots, I'm going to go ahead and send them over here. Now I've taken a little longer than usual to build up. It's allowed them to build their base up a little bit. As you play through the demo, you probably won't have as much over there because you'll go a little quicker. But because I was a little slow walking through the tutorial here, you know, they have built up. So this is their mech factory. It's a good idea. They will produce mechs eventually. So if I take that out, they won't be able to do that. These are turrets. Turrets are pretty deadly. You want to take them out quickly. And with 8 combat mechs here, this is really going to go quick.
You have destroyed the enemy colony and have taken control of this planet. Next, we will establish your space operations to invade the nearby planet. Press Tab on the keyboard to switch between the planet and space. Once in space, use the build menu at the bottom left of the screen to build a space station.
Alright, now that we've taken control of this planet, if I come out, you'll see that we have taken control of it. I can now establish a space station. Building a space station allows me to expand into space and move from this home planet. I've sent these combat mechs just to kill the rest of the colonists that are out here, just in case they, well, they're consuming my resources for one. They're chopping down trees that I may want, but they also, you know, may get ambitious and attack me. So I want to take care of all of those colonists. One thing I could do here, if I do want to be producing more iron parts and energy cells more quickly, is I can set tier 1 miners up on both of these deposits and build my fabricator and my energy manufacturer to produce more of these at a higher rate. But since I have been moving a little slow, I have a pretty good stockpile here, so I'm not going to do that just for the sake of time. So a space station costs us 100 iron parts, and we can build it out here. Now in the full game, you will likely have multiple planets that go out from your home planet. You probably want to put your space station away from those planets, because when units do teleport in, they will teleport at where that planet is. So you'll want to put this a little ways away. So I'll start the construction of that space station. Next thing it wants us to do is build a shipyard. In order to build a shipyard, though, we need to finish the space station, so we'll give this some time to build. There are 2 planets here. These are the same planets in terms of what type of planets. They're green grassland planets. The full game is going to have a wide range of different types of planets, not just different attributes here, but different layouts, different characteristics. This planet does actually have a different map. This is a single kind of base planet. There can be other bases, obviously, that can be built out here, but there are only 3 resource deposits. Actually, there's 4 resource deposits. There is a titanium deposit here, but there's 3 primary resource deposits here. So whatever faction builds on this planet will likely be gathered right here. So now we have our space station built, we are going to build a shipyard. And shipyards allow us to build ships. And ships allow us to travel through space. So in order to leave our original planet, our home planet, we'll want to travel to this planet over here. And just taking a quick look here, the enemies has one ship here. That is a Corvette. That's a entry-level basic unit. Your kind of lowest tier combat space unit. So it should be pretty easy to take out. But to do that, we'll probably want to build 2 Corvettes so that we have 2. So this is the space station. Each unit, each ship can be customized in terms of the components they have installed. For the demo, we only have one type of shield generator, which is giving us 1500 shield. As new components get added, there'll be more advanced components here that will give you bonuses here in the shield generator. This has 2 small hardpoints. We only have 1 type of weapon that can be installed there. This requires 50 parts to build that, and this one here. So those 2 hardpoints can be built on this ship. Different ships will have different hardpoints, different setups, different components, modules, so that you can build your units to customize your style of play. There are 2 units that will be in the demo. One is a Corvette and one is a small transport. The transports are allow us to move cargo. They allow us to move cargo into the other planets in order to allow us to colonize those. This one gives us 5 passengers. The Corvette actually allows us to transport passengers as well. It won't let us move cargo. But the transport will allow us to move cargo, and this allows us to move 100 resources at a time. Trade, so trade capacity allows you to set up an automated trade route. So if you do have 2 planets, for instance, if we had this planet controlled, and it was producing, let's say it was producing 32 or 16 iron parts, and we want those iron parts to be produced and immediately moved over here, we can build a transport which will and set up a trade route which would move that plus 16 from one planet to another. So that planet that was set up to pull the resources from would now be producing 0, would be producing 16, immediately trading those into the other planet, and that other planet would gain a plus 16, and that's immediate every turn with the trade routes. So it's a good way to automate your production from other planets and centralizing those into a single planet where you can build your ships or do further processing at that planet with those. So we are going to build 2 Corvettes here. We should have plenty to build, and I'm going to go and build a transport so that I can show you how that works. So we will start building those. And again, we want to put the rally point over here just when they get built. That way they're coming straight over. In the full game, again, there's many more planets out here and many more factions that are out. The AI for the tutorial faction won't attack you. They would stay here. They will maintain that state indefinitely. The factions that are in the full game will obviously be trying to expand, so they'll be building transports themselves, sending them out to other planets, colonizing those planets, and setting up their own bases. If you are at war with those factions, they will be attempting to attack your bases by creating fleets of mini combat units, and you will be attacked in space by those combat units. If they do happen to destroy your space station, and even some factions will do this without having destroyed your space station, they'll start attacking your planet. They'll start sending units down to the planet and try and take out your base. Some AI will actually not even go after your space station. They'll come in, drop units off into your base, and then leave and just destroy you at the base before they come after your space station. So just depending on which type of AI you get, those attacks may be a little different. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and move these corvettes and attack these units. I'm going to just select all these. These units now will just auto attack and keep attacking until everything's destroyed here. So I can send these units here and let them attack. This is, useful in the full game where you do have many planets out there and you're trying to colonize multiple of them. You can just easily select a full fleet of combat units and send them out and let them go do their thing. Just let them fight as you can manage other things. So we'll come in here to these this fight here. The AI is pretty basic right now. This is one improvement that will be made by the time the full game's released to make these a little bit more exciting. Right now they kind of sit there and shoot at each other, but in the game there'll be much more movement of these units in order to make these combats a little more challenging. We almost have this unit again. Once it destroys this, it's going to come over here and start attacking the base. In the meantime, since I'm confident that these two can destroy this, I'm going to start setting up my invasion for this planet. So if I take a look here, it looks like I've got centralized units here. There are a few different options you can have when you colonize a planet or when you invade a planet. One is you can just bring your best units to the planet, drop them on the planet, and start attacking. Another option is to bring colonists with you and drop them somewhere else in the planet and build a command center and set up a base there. For instance, this planet, if I were to look, a good place to do that on this planet is right up here. Although there is no deposits up here, I'd have to transport my goods, my resources in order to build everything. But one possible is dropping my units here, building my command center, setting up a wall of turrets to protect me as I build my units and start sending them over into the base. And that way I have unit production on this planet that allow me to invade a little easier. And then all I need to worry about is supplying that base from my starships by moving resources from one planet onto this planet in order to keep my production of that up. That's a little bit harder strategy to pull off at the beginning of the game, just because you don't have the capacity from your cargo ships in space to bring enough in to make that viable. It's easier just to bring the units in with them. But later in the game, as you get larger cargo ships that can bring in more goods, setting up a base is a viable tactic. Another viable tactic here is the artillery. The artillery building, and I'll go ahead and research that because I have it. Essentially, I'd be able to build a command center and build some artillery buildings, and then use those buildings to provide support to units that I deploy directly onto the base. So another strategy is, instead of building the units on the base and moving them, is building your command center and some artillery bases that you can then use to attack. So as this takes out my, looks like they did build one more ship here. As it takes out the last ship, I'm going to prepare a invasion, and to do that, I'm going to do it two ways. One is I'm going to put some units on this ship right here, and in order the way to do that is through the supply action. So by clicking supply, I can select my current space station, my current planet, and selecting the units that I want to add. So I have 6 combat mechs. Add those passengers. Again, the transport currently has 5 capacity, so I can only load 5 here. Since combat units require energy cells once I deploy them, I'm going to go ahead and fill this up with energy cells. That way I have energy cells at that planet during the invasion, and they won't basically go starving and start dying on me in the middle of the attack. So I want to make sure I have enough energy cells over there to support them. So I can supply them. They're now loaded onto this ship, and I'm going to move this ship over here. Another way to do what I just did is, if you have ships at your current location, one
on the move.
Quick way to do this is actually during an invasion. If you are needing reinforcements or additional supplies, you can see my energy cells, and I now have those 100 here. If I need to bring more, I can use this menu, which is going to show me all of the ships that I have at this planet, and allow me some quick actions. So I can supply directly from here. So I'm going to go to a Corvette and supply. So this is my current base, which has nothing here. I want the supply to come here. So I'm going to select that original planet, and I only have 1 unit here. I'm going to tell it, actually before I do that, I'm going to go build some more units. That way I have plenty here to attack with. So I'm just going to build as many as I can. This is going to be my reinforcement, so I'm going to make sure I have enough supply over there of units. So I'll go back here, again back to my Corvette, and I want to supply from that planet, and I'm going to select these units. I'm going to bring some colonists over just to fill that out. So 3, these are collecting wood, so they're going to stop collecting wood, obviously, but I want to start establishing this planet. So I'm going to bring them over with me. Supply. Now that ship's automatically going to go to that planet where it's supplying from, pick those resources up, and then come back. So this is going to happen pretty quickly because this planet is right next. So the benefit of invading a planet that's right next to one of my colonies is I'm going to be able to supply very quickly. Now if there's 2 jumps here, that ship would have to come to this planet, move across space, teleport to the next planet, pick up supplies, come back, move back. So it's going to be a little slower, but because I'm right next to this planet, I'm going to be able to supply very quickly. And that ship may already be back. Nope, he's still over there loading up. And it looks like he's stuck here. He should come back. This is a bug, and it's been reported, but he's currently stuck here. But he would be coming back if he could. So I'm actually going to send another one over just so you can see how this works. Supply that. He will go over, pick up the 5 combat bots, and hopefully this time doesn't have the issue with coming back. Alright, he may have disappeared. Nope, there he is. And he's not able to come back either. Alright, so that'll be fixed obviously in the demo, but what would happen there is they would go pick the supplies up, come back, teleport here, and that will allow me to deploy. Luckily I did get this ship over. You know, maybe what I could try to do here is just cancel them and just move them over manually. Yeah, there they go. Alright, so they're going to move over manually, but that would happen automatically. Alright, now that I have these ships here and they have passengers in them, I can start invading this planet, and I just know that this base is not going to be very strong, just because it's the tutorial. So I'm gonna just go straight and deploy at them. So in order to deploy units, it looks like this guy did not pick up. Alright, so in order to deploy units, select the ship, deploy, select which units I want to deploy, and then pick a deploy spot. Now I can drop these currently directly in the base. That's something that will be fixed. Buildings are going to have essentially no deploy area, so I won't be able to deploy within a certain distance of that building, so I wouldn't be able to drop units directly on them. So I'm going to go ahead and just drop them out here. That way you can kind of see. So deploying them brings them off of the ship and deploys them where I choose. And they start consuming, once they're on the planet, they'll start consuming what needs they have. So I do have kind of a time limit during this attack, especially since my supply is not working. I'm going to go ahead and supply with 3 more of these. And I've got 8 here, and I'm going to go ahead and start attacking. So this is one way to invade. Now if this was a harder base, I would probably need a better supply of units that I would want to bring in. Make sure that they attack that turret first. And they have some combat units built. This may be a little bit of a harder battle. And they killed me. So now they're going to start rebuilding, so I need to get some other units over here pretty quick. So let me use this ship I know works.
We are on our way. Going there now.
I'm going to build another transport. And I'm going to make sure I have enough units here built. Yeah, I've got plenty of units. Alright, I'm going to supply more of these units, and you know, this is the issue. Somehow there's a unit in there that's messing everything up, and that's why I can't select them here. So unfortunately we might have a bug here that prevent us from completing right now, but I'm going to go ahead and try to bring some units over and see if I can get them. Yeah, see that. I think what's happening is there's a combat unit that's on that planet that's kind of bugging out. So let's try again. Alright, we got 5 on there. Let's try to get 5 on here. Alright, we've got 5 and 5. And we're going to move them back over here. Alright, I have them here. I will be able to deploy. And I'm going to deploy all 5. And I basically have them. They don't have the turret, they don't have their combat bots, so I should that guy's running away. I don't need to chase him. What I could have done is I could have built the tanks, and let me show you those since I did research them. The tanks are built through the mech factory, and this tank, small tank, allows the gun to be changed on it. There's right now just a regular gun, it's like a Gatling gun. There is on tier 2 more advanced weapons that can be installed on these tanks. I will build a couple of those and see if I can get them over. I'm not going to need them though. I think these combat bots are plenty. This is going to end the tutorial. I believe, yeah, they ran over here and set up a second base. That's what they did. So once I finish off this, the tutorial is going to end here, which would be the end of the demo if you are playing that. There we go. Congratulations, you have successfully completed the tutorial. You are now ready to start your empire and explore the galaxy. The demo will most likely have a different message there. It's more appropriate for ending the demo, but this is the full game I'm playing right now that has this message in it. Now I do have the option to keep playing if I want to play around a bit more, go through some of the other units, or I can return to the main menu and finish. I'm just going to keep showing you some things here that may be interesting. One thing is that building our, let's see if I can get some supplies over here. So once I have a planet, I only have combat mechs here. They're not going to help too much on setting up a new planet. I need to get some colonists, but because I have that issue right now with the colonists not being able to be transported, I'm going to transport just the supplies over here. So I'm going to choose this. Actually, I'm going to bring these units over so you can see the tanks, but I'm going to bring over wood. Wood is basically my core component that's going to allow me to establish a base. When invading any planet, if your goal is to colonize that planet, you can basically get started on most of the earlier planets as long as they have trees and have certain this is pretty low on population. It's not going to matter as long as it has some population I can recruit from. Bringing 100 wood over is going to allow me to get started there pretty quick. Now I could build it up here, but all my resources are down here, so I want to build it over in this area. If I was building this in the full game, I would consider my defensive points. This one's pretty open. It's pretty hard to defend because it's so open. But I would probably build some turrets up here to keep the invasion, if there is an invasion that comes, to keep them from getting to the command center. So I'm going to start a command center that costs 50 wood. That's going to allow me to really establish this planet and start generating more resources from this planet. One of the goals of the game is to expand. In order to expand more quickly, you want to be capitalizing on the resources of the planets that you gain control of. So finding those planets and setting up these bases allows you to build things quicker. I have these combat mechs. Now the one thing about all units, their needs are only consumed when they are deployed to the planet. So I can easily just send these back up into one of these ships. I'll send them to these corvettes here, supply them from my current planet, move them up. Before I do that, I'm just going to recruit, and I have no food here, so I need to go supply food before I do that. Alright, so supply, and I'm going to bring some food over. It should be relatively quick because, again, that planet is right next to me. So they are getting those, and here they come back. and that 100 food that they're going to come back with is going to allow me to recruit these 3 colonists. And the previous colony, previous faction on this planet, consumed all the trees here. So there's usually a line of trees here. Those are gone, so I need to go down there to get the trees. Wood being produced will allow me to build the miners. Again, this is like the beginning of the tutorial, which is why the tutorial starts where it is. I'm going to go set up some mining operations here, and then I'm going to send these bots back up into my ships so that they're not consuming energy and slowly dying, because I do not have energy on this planet yet. So by moving them back up, my energy consumption should go to 0 here. There it goes. And they'll heal themselves on the ships as well. So now one thing I can do here is, because this planet doesn't have a very high population, it's going to take me a little while to get colonists here. I'm going to have to wait 2 minutes every time to get 4 more colonists. I do have that other planet that has colonists at its disposal. So one quick thing I can do here is use this menu. This is the going to show me all my colonized planets that are near me, and I can quickly switch between them through this menu. So I can go back to my home planet here, go to the surface, recruit my colonist. So I'm going to recruit 10 here, or 8, and then I'm going to switch back to where I was, switch to my vehicles, to my starships, and then I'm going to supply. So I'm going to have my transport here, go back and pick up those colonists. There's the 8 that I just recruited. They're going to go back and pick up 5. And this is going to be a little bit quicker than, you know, waiting for recruits here. I also don't have food production, so I do need to get a farm built. So what I probably need to do here, so there it is coming back. And constantly supplying. I'm not sure why that happened. Alright. And I cannot. Yeah, I've got a issue here that's preventing a lot of this from working. It's something is bugging out. So I don't think I'm gonna. Yep. Now I can deploy now. Okay, let's see if I can get them deployed here. Alright, there we go. So this is a quick way to establish planets. If your current planet does not have or has a low population or doesn't have a population at all, you can use those transports and your corvettes to continually bring those units over. The starships, these first starships that you have, aren't the biggest. They only have space for 5 colonists. There are ships that will be in the research tree that you can unlock that will allow you to bring over much more higher counts. There's a colony ship specifically that I believe it's set to almost 100. It's either 50 or 100 colonists that you can pack in there. So you can quickly grab those colonists and bring them to a new planet and instantly have all the colonists that you need to colonize that planet. Another building that is in the demo that is not currently set up to do this, but may be set up by the time the demo comes out, is the recruitment office. The recruitment office, not only, if I click it here, to reduce the amount of time colonists and wildlife can be recruited by 30 seconds, so that'll take it down to about a minute 20. The recruitment office will also allow you to recruit from other neighboring planets. So if I build a recruitment office here, instead of switching back to my other planet, recruiting a colonist and needing a transport to bring them over, I can recruit them directly from that planet onto this planet through that recruitment center. And that's going to allow me to recruit them without needing those transports to transport them. So that's still in development. That should come out shortly with that recruitment center, the ability to recruit from neighboring planets. Currently, right now, it does reduce the recruitment time, so your recruitments will be available quicker, but that recruit from other planets currently is not implemented. So if I were to continue building this planet, I would, add the miners here for these 3 resources. There's the titanium deposit that I cannot mine because I do not have a tier 2 miner. But I would set up miners here, set up production to convert those into my parts, and then most likely I would set up the transport to automatically move those resources from this planet to that planet. Actually, I can show you how trade works, which is something you won't need to do in the demo, but it is available. Actually, I have these 3. Let me show you these tanks. I don't have anything to fight with them, but I can deploy them. So these units are pretty powerful. They have a high rate of fire, and they do a lot of damage. The gun that's initially available is good for units, but the artillery is great for buildings that you can put on these tanks. It gives you long-range artillery attacks. It is a slow-moving projectile, so for units that are moving, it won't do too well unless they're stationary. But for buildings, they're great. You can basically destroy a full colony of buildings pretty quickly with a few tanks with artillery on them. So let me show you how the trade works. So I will set up these. I'll set up one of these. So this planet is currently producing 4 wood. Actually, what I'll do is instead of because I don't have food here, let's say that this planet did not have agriculture. It was a desert planet. There's no way to build farms here. My colonists, because they are there are no food rations here, and you can see this, their health is gradually going down. They will eventually die here because they are starving. So if I were setting up this planet and I did not have the ability to build farms, I do here because there's agriculture here, but if I didn't have the ability to build farms, I would need to get food here. So one way to do that is through trade. I can set up a transport and I do the trade action and then pick my planet that I want to trade with. So I'm currently at my current planet and I want to trade with my home planet. My home planet's actually producing 7 food. So I'm going to do something here. So I want to trade from this planet. So what I do is just pull back, move them here. And my trade capacity from the small transports are 16. The larger cargo ships are much bigger. They're, I think the large cargo ship can bring 64, but that may even be more. By the time the game launches, that may be higher. But the tier 2 cargo ship can move a lot more goods per trip. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move 16 from this planet to this planet. That's going to give me a actual production here, so I can start building some food ration reserves here to allow me to recruit colonists. But because this is -9, I'm actually it's not going to trade all 16. So what's going to happen here, I'll accept here, is it's going to show that I have +16 on trade here, and I have +7. But you'll see here that it won't actually go up 7 because take that back. It will go up 7, and we'll see here it's almost over a turn. It will go up 7 until it depletes these reserves. So because this planet has -9, but it's got 1299, it will continue to deplete that reserve and move them into this planet. But now this planet is going to reach 0, and my colonists on that planet are going to start starving. It's also not going to move all 7 of those. So even though this says +7, it's only going to be able to get a certain number there from that planet. So it's even though it's +7, it's actually going to be losing food. So in order to fix that, I need to come back to this planet, which has the -9, and build another farm. And because this has agriculture 2, I can build 4 farms here. I only have 2 built, so I'm going to go ahead and build another farm. Actually, I'm going to build my 2 farms here. I need colonists. I've got 3 idle, so let me just recruit 1 more, so I have 4. And I'm going to assign these 2 colonists to these farms, and that's going to help with my -10 production here. It's going to again put me in the positive, so that should go ahead and do it. +16, +32. Now I'm producing 64, which is the max that this planet can produce in food. So if I try to build another farm here, it says I've reached my limit. This planet is producing the max food that it can produce, 64, and out of that 64, 26 of it is going to my colonists that are on this planet. So I have 26 colonists on this planet currently, consuming 1 food ration each, and I'm also trading 16 of those food rations to that other planet in order to support it. With the +22, I'm going to continue to build the reserves here, and that will keep going up indefinitely, so I can use this planet for further expansion into other planets by pulling off of the reserve and colonizing those planets and then setting this up. So one good strategy as you're expanding is finding some of these planets. This one, agriculture 2, but if you find a planet with agriculture 3, it'll allow you to build 2 extra, which is 96 production. So you can get up to 96 production from those farms from a single planet that you can use to then just trade those to your other planets that you're setting up. So one strategy on how to move food production around. Let's see here. Another thing we can show. Let's go into the research here. We have turrets. The Razor is a kind of a more advanced ship. Some of the factions will build Razors instead of the Corvettes right at the beginning. Tier 1 mining station. So this is a mining station for asteroids. The tutorial galaxy does not have asteroids, but in larger galaxies with multiple planet types out there, there is a asteroid type of planet that you cannot colonize on. So if you go into an asteroid planet, you'll see an asteroid here, but you won't be able to go onto the asteroid. It's just not, it doesn't have the ability to colonize. The asteroids can be mined, so with that tier 1 mining station that I would research here, I can build that on that asteroid and mine those resources off directly from that asteroid. Now because there's no manufacturing that I can build there, I'll need to take those raw resources and move them to a planet that has production in order to turn them into parts, but those asteroids give pretty high returns on raw resources and is a good strategy to get these parts. You start generating more parts more quickly. The wildlife basically work like colonists. When you build the wildlife training center, it is a building that will have a box similar to this, but instead of the native units on this planet, it'll allow you to pull the wildlife. So in this one, Karchmar, if you go to this other planet, they have the Anglerid. They will, they're kind of a similar creature, but you can recruit these from this planet. One thing I didn't mention is the Lantarian. This is a different species on this planet, a different race. These compared to Gastarians, so this is a Gastarian. It's got 200% chop wood. This one's only 100. So if I assign this colonist to chop wood, which I'll do it from here, he's only going to get +1 production from that. Whereas these Gastarians, if I gather, they're giving +2. So just keep that in mind as you're recruiting these colonists, what they're proficient at. The Gastarian will have a higher, a better combat unit. They're a little bit stronger than the Gastarian, so they give a little bit more of a defense or attacking power, but just produce wood a little less. My tanks here are on fire because they're slowly dying because I do not have energy cells here. So they're not able to meet their needs, which is 2 energy cells per turn. Oh yeah, I have 6 here, so 2 of them per turn are consuming that because I don't have energy here. Which would be easy to set up energy production by just building, because I do have a copper deposit here, I can build energy here. Not all planets have copper deposits though, so similar to how I would move food onto this planet, I would be moving energy cells if I needed to support some defense with stronger units. Energy cell production is important to get into those planets in order to support those units so they don't die. And I think that pretty much concludes the demo. This is going to be out on Steam here in the next couple weeks, and downloadable for free. You can play through everything you saw today and play around with this. The full game will enter early access. I don't have an exact date yet. I'm hoping this year, but early 2024, if not this year. But it will go into early access, and additional content will be coming in during that time of early access until the full game is officially released. Just to show you that, I'm going to save the game so I can go figure out what that bug is. But I'm going to show you just some of the other game modes. So again, this is the full version of the game. The demo, you will only have this game mode. You won't be able to change it, but because I'm in the full version, I can move. I'm going to show you what a large galaxy looks like here. So a large galaxy is going to have, I believe it's currently set to just over 100 planets. So this galaxy is much larger. There are 4 factions that are out here that will be expanding and moving territory and eventually coming to attack you. And there's a lot of different planet types. There is the desert planet that's currently in development. I can show you what it currently looks like, although it may change pretty drastically. But this is the current planet. Only has copper deposits, does not have any other deposits here. And they generally have a low population, no technology, so no research can be built here. Very low manufacturing, very low wildlife, no agriculture, so you can't build farms here. This is purely a planet made for energy production. You want to come here and either use bots here or trade your food rations in, because you can't actually produce them at the planet. But if you establish each of these deposits, you will be producing a lot of copper, and being able to convert that copper into energy gives you a really high energy production off of these planets. But you do have to set up a little bit of effort to get those started. This is a asteroid, so this is a iron asteroid. I can come in and show you an iron asteroid. This asteroid can be mineable through a tier 1 mining station. So if you have that researched, it shows up in your build menu. You can click it, deploy it right on the asteroid. It will build a station here, and now you can essentially mine a pretty high production of iron off of that asteroid. It will require you, because there's no planet here, that you need to transport that iron off onto another planet. So a good strategy is to find a planet. So this one has 2 manufacturing. It's not too bad, but let's see if we can find. It's also right next to that faction. It's probably not a good place. Here's iron and a planet that has 1. It's got 1. Finding a planet that's got at least 2 manufacturing, that's a pretty good planet there. It's not near the iron, but finding a planet that has good manufacturing. This one's near 3 asteroids, which would be pretty good to set up. I would probably set up a mining or a processing plant there to move all these into and do my parts manufacturing off of that planet. And I even have energy here, so I could probably get a lot of parts. That would be a good planet to build a shipyard on, because I can get a lot of energy and parts into that planet and build off of that. So that would be a very good. It's also not too far from where I started. I would probably come over, colonize this early, and set my production up and build ships out of that planet. There is a faction there that I would want to take out quickly so they don't attack. Yeah, so I would come in and probably try to set up a wall here that would require them to expand, because if they're not at war with you, so if I look at my factions, they're all in neutral status right now. As long as I don't declare war, they won't invade my territory. But if I do landlock them or planet lock them, solar system lock, not sure. But if they don't have a room to expand, they will eventually just declare war on me. So if I stop them, it would be only a matter of time until they came over and started a war with me in order to try to expand them. So it looks like they have decent planets. They would probably be able to build a pretty good force to combat. Some of these other planets, this is these will be volcanic planets right now. They're not set up, but these are volcanic planets, desert planets, and my grasslands. This is just another. It's a water planet. Just another type of planet, and as the game moves through early access, there will be more planet types and maybe even some other attributes that show up here that kind of require you to develop a strategy on how you expand into these other planets. It's also possible by the time we get to early access, this map is probably going to change quite a bit. This is just a circular, pretty basic galaxy. You can also see everything. There may be an option to hide only your near planets, so that as you expand, you will discover new planets, so you don't necessarily know exactly where the best planets are, and you need to explore that in order to find those, instead of just unlocking all the planets right up front. So that's a possible change that may be made. So yeah, this is the demo. Check out the Steam page, wishlist it. Check out the demo in a couple weeks if you want to get your hands on it. join our Discord channel. You can find the link on our Steam page to our Discord channel. If you want to follow along, you can reach out to me. My username on there is Jappleseed. You'll see me on the list as a developer. Reach out to me directly. There's also play testing that we're having where people are, there's about just over 100 play testers right now that have access to the game. They have access to the full version. They will continue to have access to the full version to try out new builds as they come. So if you can't wait for early access, reach out to me. I can get you a playtest key, and you can get access to the game immediately. Granted, there will be bugs and issues with it, but that's what we're getting playtesters for. If you do encounter those bugs, please report them and let us know so we can fix them. Let me know so I can fix them. So yeah, join our Discord. I'll be putting out these Twitch streams probably once a week, maybe more, maybe less at times, just showing the progress of the game. So follow me on Twitch, check Twitch out. YouTube channel, we'll be putting videos up there. Follow us on YouTube. Cozy Orchards is the name of the Twitch channel and the YouTube channel. There should be links on the Steam page for that. Again, that's Cozy Orchards. Twitch, YouTube, follow and get the latest videos that are coming out. So that's it. Thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Again, please reach out to me. Looking forward to talking to anyone that wants to be involved.